For just in general, like for me, what would I order?
To you, what is the best
BLT.
sandwich? The American Classic.
American Classic.
Let me ask you, what's your ratio?
What's the real story behind Sandra Bullock's love life? Is it as dazzling as her iconic roles? Or is there more to the story than meets the eye? From secretive relationships to public heartbreaks, Sandra has managed to keep her romantic life mostly out of the spotlight. But what's really been happening behind closed doors? Keep watching to uncover the truth and prepare for some surprising revelations you won't expect. Ryan Gosling, 2002 to 2003. Sandra's relationship with Ryan Gosling in the early 2000s, during their time filming Murder by Numbers, was brief but garnered significant media attention due to their 17-year age difference. At the time, Sandra was 38 and Gosling was 21, which led to widespread speculation about their relationship. The media was fascinated by the pairing, as Sandra was already an established actress, while Gosling was a young star just beginning to find success with films like The Notebook, 2004, and The Beloved, 2003. Their romance, while short-lived, captivated the public, sparking discussions about age differences in relationships and the dynamics between the two. Despite the public fascination, Sandra and Ryan were discreet about their romance. They kept their relationship private, rarely making public appearances together, and often avoided discussing it in interviews. Sandra, who was no stranger to the media's obsession with her personal life, was cautious about her relationship with Gosling, understanding how the public might scrutinize their age gap. However, despite their attempts to keep their connection under the radar, the pairing became one of Hollywood's more talked-about relationships at the time. The relationship eventually ended in 2003, and the reasons behind their breakup were never fully disclosed. Some sources speculated that their differing stages in life and career ambitions played a role, while others pointed to the pressures of their public personas. Sandra was already a major star in Hollywood, whereas Gosling was still navigating the early stages of his career. Their age difference also posed challenges, with Sandra being at a different point in her personal life compared to the young and rising Gosling. Despite the relationship's brief nature, both actors remained cordial and respectful toward one another in the years that followed. In interviews, Sandra has mentioned that she was grateful for the time she spent with Gosling, but that their lives had evolved in different directions. Gosling, too, has expressed nothing but respect for Bullock, acknowledging her immense talent and the lessons he learned from their time together. Their relationship, though short-lived, was a reminder of how the media's fascination with age and Hollywood pairings can often overshadow the deeper, more personal dynamics that define a relationship. Sandra Bullock and Jesse James, 2003 to 2010. Sandra Bullock's relationship with Jesse James, the former star of Monster Garage and founder of West Coast Choppers, was one of Hollywood's most high-profile and surprising unions in the mid-2000s. Known for her roles in The Blind Side and Gravity, Sandra's personal life often seemed as carefully guarded as her career. However, her marriage to Jesse James not only captured the attention of the public, but also brought her into a whirlwind of family dynamics, fame, and ultimately, heartbreak. Sandra Bullock met Jesse James in 2003 through her 10-year-old godson. Bullock, who was known for her charitable and down-to-earth personality, was spending time with her godson when she was introduced to James. At the time, Sandra was a well-established actress, known for her roles in romantic comedies and dramas, while James was making his name as a motorcycle mechanic and the star of the reality show Monster Garage. Their worlds were different, but their connection was instant. Despite their difference in careers, they quickly bonded over their shared interests and strong personalities. Sandra was drawn to James's rough-around-the-edges demeanor, while he admired her warmth and grounded nature. They enjoyed a whirlwind courtship, with Sandra embracing the quiet intimacy of their relationship, far removed from the media spotlight that often surrounded her. Their chemistry was undeniable, and within a couple of years, they were engaged. Sandra and Jesse's engagement was quick, and they decided to keep the wedding plans private. In 2005, they exchanged vows in a secretive, intimate ceremony at a ranch in Santa Ynez Valley, California. The wedding was small, only attended by a few close friends and family members. Sandra, who had been famous for keeping her personal life out of the public eye, wanted the ceremony to be a private, personal moment, a far cry from the glitzy, high-profile Hollywood weddings that were typically covered in tabloids. Their wedding was a symbol of the bond they shared, a desire to maintain a sense of privacy and normalcy despite their fame. It was a quiet, understated event that reflected the couple's desire for a low-key life outside of the Hollywood spotlight. From the outside, their marriage seemed perfect, built on a strong foundation of love and mutual respect. Following their marriage, Sandra Bullock embraced her role as a stepmother to Jesse's children from previous relationships. Jesse James had 3 children, 2 from his first marriage to Carla James, and 1 from his second marriage to Janine Lindemulder. Sandra, who had never been married before and had no children of her own, found herself stepping into a family dynamic that was both exciting and challenging. Sandra took on her stepmother role with great care. She often described how much she loved Jesse's children and how important it was to her to be a part of their lives. She reportedly worked hard to make them feel comfortable and loved, even as she navigated her new role within the family. Sandra and Jesse seemed to create a stable home life together, often spending time in their family-oriented home in Long Beach, California. Sandra's bond with Jesse's children was strong, and she would later reflect on how proud she was to be a part of their lives, even in the non-traditional stepmother role. In 2009, Sandra and Jesse took the step of expanding their family by adopting a child together. Sandra adopted a baby boy, Louis Bardo Bullock, from New Orleans, and the couple became parents. Sandra was extremely private about her adoption process and was careful to keep details about Louis's arrival under wraps. However, when she publicly announced the adoption, it was clear that her life had changed. She was now a mother, and her love for her son seemed to deepen her connection with Jesse. The couple appeared to be living a life of domestic bliss, balancing the demands of Jesse's business, Sandra's acting career, and raising their family. The public saw them as a happy, successful couple, one who had managed to blend their families and embrace parenthood with grace. It was a picture-perfect Hollywood story. In 2010, everything began to unravel. The shocking news broke that Jesse James had been involved in multiple affairs during his marriage to Sandra Bullock. The most publicized affair was with Michelle "Bombshell" McGee, a tattoo model. The details of the affair made headlines, and the scandal dominated the media. Jesse James, who had built his brand on his tough, rebellious persona, was thrust into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons. Sandra Bullock, who had been known for her sunny, down-to-earth demeanor, was blindsided by the revelation. She had always kept her personal life private, and the public nature of the scandal was particularly painful for her. In the aftermath of the affair's revelation, Sandra withdrew from the spotlight, retreating to her home with her son Louis. The heartbreak was evident, and the media followed every moment of her grieving process. In April 2010, just months after the affair became public, Sandra filed for divorce from Jesse James. The decision to separate was heart-wrenching for her, as she had been deeply invested in the marriage and had worked hard to build a life with Jesse and his children. Sandra later opened up about the pain she felt during the separation. In interviews, she spoke about how devastated she was by the betrayal and how it had shaken her trust in people. Despite the intense heartbreak, Sandra found strength in her decision to move on. She publicly stated that she would not let the betrayal define her, and she focused on her role as a mother to Louis. In an emotional interview with People magazine in 2010, she spoke candidly about her grief and the healing process. She said, "I don't know if I will ever understand why this happened, but I know I have to keep going for my son." In the years following the divorce, Sandra Bullock has spoken about her marriage to Jesse James and the lessons she learned from the experience. Despite the pain, she has remained respectful of her time with him. Sandra emphasized that she would not allow the public scandal to define her or her happiness. She also acknowledged that her divorce was not a failure, but rather a necessary step in her journey. Sandra has always maintained a positive outlook, focusing on her work and her son. Her decision to adopt Louis and raise him as a single mother reflected her ability to find strength and resilience in the face of personal setbacks. While she has kept her love life relatively private since the divorce, Sandra has repeatedly expressed her gratitude for her family and her focus on giving Louis a stable, loving home. Today, Sandra reflects on her marriage to Jesse James as a learning experience, one that ultimately helped her grow emotionally and personally. Despite the public pain, she has managed to move forward with grace, building a fulfilling life centered around her family, her career, and her own happiness. In the end, Sandra's story is one of resilience and strength, a testament to her ability to overcome adversity and find peace within herself. Matthew McConaughey. Sandra Bullock's brief romance with Matthew McConaughey took place during the filming of A Time to Kill, 1996, where they played love interests. At the time, both actors were on the cusp of major Hollywood stardom. McConaughey had already established himself as a rising star with Dazed and Confused, 1993, and Sandra was gaining recognition with her performances in Speed, 1994, and While You Were Sleeping, 1995. Their chemistry was undeniable both on-screen and off-screen. They were often photographed together during the production, sparking rumors of a romantic connection. However, both actors were determined to keep their relationship private, with McConaughey later recalling in interviews that their decision to keep things under wraps was motivated by the desire to avoid distraction during a crucial point in their careers. Sandra, who had always been cautious about her public image, respected this, as she had learned from previous relationships how media scrutiny could complicate personal connections. Despite the brief nature of their romance, which lasted only a few months, both McConaughey and Bullock remained respectful of each other after the breakup. Neither party ever publicly criticized the other, and both went on to achieve greater success in their careers. McConaughey later expressed that their time together helped him grow as an actor and a person. Bullock, in turn, mentioned in later interviews that McConaughey was a good friend and a great professional partner on set. Their mutual respect and discretion about the relationship reflected their understanding of the complexities of maintaining personal connections in the spotlight. Though they parted ways, their brief romance did not negatively impact their respective careers or public images. They continued to maintain a friendly and respectful relationship, with both focusing on their personal lives and careers in the years that followed. Troy Aikman, 1995, rekindling in 2013. Rumors about Sandra Bullock's relationship with NFL star Troy Aikman first surfaced in 1995 when they were briefly linked after meeting at a charity event. At the time, Aikman was a star quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys, and Sandra was beginning to make her mark in Hollywood. However, their relationship was never confirmed, and any possible romance between them was short-lived. The speculation faded, and both went on to lead their separate lives. Sandra continuing her acting career, and Aikman with his illustrious career in football. Fast forward to 2013, and the rumors resurfaced when Sandra and Aikman were spotted together again at various events. Both had gone through divorces, Sandra from Jesse James in 2010, and Aikman from his first wife, Rhonda Worthy, in 2011. Their connection seemed to be rekindled by their shared experiences of life after divorce, with both navigating their personal lives in the public eye. However, Sandra was hesitant to go public with their renewed relationship. Despite the media's interest in their pairing, she kept things low-key, likely due to her previous experiences with public scrutiny and her desire to keep her personal life private. Sources close to the couple reported that they enjoyed spending time together, but Sandra remained cautious about taking things further. She was not ready to make any major decisions regarding her love life after the tumultuous divorce from Jesse James. Ultimately, the rekindled relationship with Aikman fizzled out quietly. Sandra and Aikman never confirmed whether they were romantically involved or simply reconnecting as friends. The relationship's short duration further demonstrated Sandra's commitment to maintaining her privacy and her unwillingness to rush into another public relationship. By the time 2013 ended, the rumors had died down, and Sandra focused on her role as a mother and her career. Sandra Bullock's relationships post-divorce were filled with quiet moments of reflection and growth. Her brief romances with Matthew McConaughey, Ryan Gosling, and the rekindled connection with Troy Aikman all highlighted different facets of her journey. Each relationship offered Sandra new perspectives on love and connection, while her discretion and respect for her privacy were evident in her approach to dating. Through all of these, Sandra never let her personal life overshadow her career or her role as a mother. These relationships, although short-lived or never fully realized, were part of Sandra's path toward healing and personal development following the pain of her divorce from Jesse James. While the media often fixated on her romantic life, Sandra maintained her integrity, choosing to focus on her family, career, and the people who truly mattered to her. In the end, Sandra's story serves as a reminder of the importance of personal boundaries, respect for privacy, and the ability to move forward, even after facing emotional challenges. Meeting Bryan Randall, 2015. Sandra Bullock met Bryan Randall in 2015 when he was hired to photograph her son Louis for a magazine shoot. At the time, Sandra was already a well-established Hollywood star, having won an Oscar and starred in major blockbusters like Gravity and The Blind Side. Randall, on the other hand, was a talented photographer with a strong portfolio, including work for high-profile clients. They were introduced professionally, but there was an immediate connection beyond their shared work. Their relationship grew quietly, without the usual Hollywood fanfare. Both had been through public heartbreak: Sandra's divorce from Jesse James in 2010 and Randall's own past relationships, and were determined to protect their privacy. The early months of their relationship were spent enjoying low-key dates and time together without the media scrutiny that had marked Sandra's past. It was clear from the outset that Sandra and Bryan were both looking for something different, a grounded private relationship that allowed them to prioritize their bond over public attention. The first signs of their connection becoming public came when they were spotted together at various low-profile events. Their rare public outings were often with Sandra's children, Louis and Layla, highlighting how integral Bryan was becoming in their lives. Unlike Sandra's previous relationships, which had been marred by media attention, this one was filled with the simplicity and quiet affection that both partners valued. They focused on their bond, supporting one another without the need for excessive public declarations. Sandra's decision to expand her family was deeply personal, and Bryan became an integral part of that journey. In 2015, Sandra adopted a second child, Layla, a young girl she brought into her home after fostering her for a period. The addition of Layla, alongside her son Louis, completed Sandra's vision of the family she always wanted. Bryan was immediately involved in their lives, helping to create a loving and stable home for their children. Though Sandra's life had been highly public, she chose to keep her growing family life as private as possible. She shared little about her children's lives, choosing to protect their privacy and give them a sense of normalcy away from the constant media attention. Bryan supported Sandra's decision to keep their family life out of the spotlight, focusing instead on creating a home filled with love, security, and stability for their children. Sandra's commitment to being the best mother she could be was unwavering, and Bryan was right by her side throughout the entire process. He was described as a loving, devoted stepfather to Louis and Layla, helping to nurture their relationship with Sandra while remaining relatively out of the public eye. This period marked a new chapter for Sandra, where the focus was firmly on family, and Bryan became an indispensable part of her life. In 2021, Bryan Randall was diagnosed with amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS, a progressive neurodegenerative disease that affects nerve cells in the brain and spinal cord. Sandra, known for her strength and resilience, immediately stepped into the role of caregiver. The diagnosis was a turning point for their relationship, as the couple navigated the emotional and physical challenges that came with ALS. ALS is a disease that gradually robs a person of their ability to move, speak, and eventually breathe, and it poses significant challenges for both Bryan and Sandra. Sandra dedicated herself to caring for Bryan, organizing his medical care, and ensuring that he received the best possible treatment while maintaining as much of their normal life as possible. Her devotion to Bryan was evident in every aspect of their life together, as she became his primary caregiver, doing everything she could to ease his suffering while maintaining a sense of normalcy for their children. Throughout this period, Sandra kept Bryan's diagnosis private, only revealing bits of information when she felt it was necessary. She worked tirelessly to balance her public persona with her private responsibilities as a caregiver, showing immense strength while never allowing the ALS diagnosis to overshadow her commitment to her family. The emotional toll on both of them was significant, and Sandra's strength in keeping their private lives intact during such a trying time only deepened their connection. Bryan's diagnosis and the ensuing caregiving journey brought the couple even closer, as they shared moments of tenderness and love despite the inevitable challenges. Sandra's role as caregiver was not just an obligation, but a labor of love, and Bryan's appreciation for her unwavering support was clear in the way he spoke about her in private. Despite the difficulty of the situation, their bond was strengthened by the shared understanding of how precious their time together was. Bryan Randall passed away in 2023 after a battle with ALS, leaving Sandra and their children devastated. The loss of Bryan marked a profoundly difficult moment in Sandra's life, and she publicly mourned his passing. Sandra's grief was visible as she shared her love and sadness with the public, making appearances where she expressed both her love for Bryan and the heartache she felt at his passing. She appeared on platforms like Red Table Talk, where she spoke openly about their time together, how ALS had impacted their family, and how she continued to navigate life without Bryan. In the months following Bryan's passing, Sandra continued to honor his memory, speaking of him with immense love and respect. Their time together, though tragically short, was filled with moments of joy and genuine connection, and Sandra expressed how grateful she was for the love they shared. Though Bryan's passing left a void, Sandra focused on cherishing the life they built together, holding on to the memories of their bond and the impact he had on her and her children's lives. Sandra's journey after Bryan's passing has not been easy, but she has faced the challenges with the same strength and resilience that she has shown throughout her life. Her focus has remained on her children and on keeping Bryan's memory alive in the hearts of those who knew and loved him. Despite the loss, Sandra's commitment to her family and her own personal healing continues to define her path forward. In the years following Bryan Randall's passing in 2023, Sandra Bullock has placed a strong emphasis on healing and moving forward. The death of Bryan, her partner for several years, was a deep emotional blow, but Sandra has focused her energy on her children, Lewis and Layla, as she navigates life without him. Sandra has always been deeply committed to her role as a mother, and following Bryan's death, her priority shifted even more toward providing a stable, loving environment for her children. Her focus is on making sure they feel safe, secure, and loved during such a difficult time. In interviews and public appearances, Sandra has spoken about how important it is for her to be present for Lewis and Layla, ensuring that they continue to thrive despite the hardship they've faced. Sandra's personal life has become increasingly centered on family values, and her public image reflects this shift. Whereas in the past, her romantic relationships often garnered attention, her current life is far less about her personal romantic endeavors and more about her role as a mother. Sandra has kept a low profile in terms of dating, choosing instead to invest her time and energy into her children's growth and well-being. This prioritization has allowed her to rebuild her life with a focus on nurturing her family while honoring Bryan's memory. In addition to being a mother, Sandra has found peace in spending quality time with her children, focusing on their emotional and physical health. Despite the fame that continues to follow her, Sandra has kept her family life largely private, emphasizing the importance of giving her children the privacy and normalcy they deserve. For Sandra, family has become the cornerstone of her world, and she continues to dedicate herself to ensuring that Lewis and Layla grow up in a loving and supportive home environment. While Sandra's focus has shifted toward her children, her ability to maintain close, platonic relationships has remained an important part of her life. One of the most enduring and significant friendships in Sandra's life is with her A Time to Kill co-star Matthew McConaughey. Their friendship has lasted for decades, and their mutual respect for one another is evident in their ongoing support for each other. Though their romantic relationship was brief and took place early in their careers, Sandra and Matthew have remained close friends. In interviews, both actors have expressed how much they value each other's friendship, even after their brief romance in the 1990s. McConaughey has spoken about how much he admires Sandra's strength and resilience, and Sandra has frequently shared how important it is to have friends like Matthew who understand the pressures of being in the public eye. Beyond McConaughey, Sandra has cultivated strong friendships with other colleagues and close friends, which have become a vital support system in her life. Her circle of friends includes people she can trust deeply, and she has always emphasized how important it is to have people around her who understand the complexities of her life and career. These friendships provide Sandra with the emotional support she needs to continue thriving, especially as she navigates life as a single mother and public figure. Her relationships with friends have remained largely platonic, and she continues to build connections that help her grow emotionally while supporting her family. Maintaining these close-knit relationships has allowed Sandra to keep a healthy balance between her personal and professional life, and it serves as a reminder of her capacity for genuine connections that go beyond romantic involvement. And that's a look at Sandra Bullock's romantic journey, from her early relationships to the love of her life, Bryan Randall. Through it all, Sandra has remained focused on family and growth. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell for more deep dives into your favorite stars' lives.